does it take to build an empire that lasts for 1,000 years? An empire so vast that at its height, 1 in every 4 people on Earth lived under its rule. This wasn't just about brute force. This was a machine, a blueprint for conquest so effective it turned a single city into a superpower that dominated the known world. Today, we're not just listing battles. We're cracking open the Roman playbook. This is the story of how Rome got so unbelievably big. At the heart of Rome's rise stood its most famous creation, the Legion. But this wasn't just a mob of soldiers with swords. It was the most advanced military system the ancient world had ever seen. Their equipment was standardized: shields, armor, weapons, all produced in bulk, so every legionary fought as part of a single machine. Take the pilum, the Roman javelin. It was designed to bend on impact so enemies couldn't throw it back. A small detail, but thousands of small details made Rome unstoppable. And wherever they went, they built. Every night. Fortified camps, complete with trenches, palisades, and streets. Even after a long march, they built before sleeping. That kind of discipline made them nearly impossible to surprise. But Rome's real secret weapon wasn't its steel. It was its system. A Roman soldier served for 25 years. In return, he earned land, money, and something even more valuable: Roman citizenship. That promise turned every battle into an investment in his future. Every conquered province became more than just territory. It became the retirement plan for the very men who conquered it. They weren't just fighting for Rome. They were fighting for their future homes. This professional army could march faster, dig faster, and fight longer than any opponent. The world had seen conquerors before, but Rome had built something new, a self-sustaining engine of expansion. Other empires had flared and faded. Alexander's empire shattered the moment he died. Rome, on the other hand, built to last. Their first masterstroke was the art of absorption. Instead of ruling through fear, they ruled through incentives. After defeating their Italian neighbors, they offered a deal. Join us and share in the rewards. Defy us and you're gone. They handed out partial rights, trade privileges, and a path to citizenship. More allies meant bigger armies. Bigger armies meant more victories. More victories meant more people who wanted to become allies. It was a snowball rolling down the Italian peninsula, gathering strength with every turn. And once Italy was unified, Rome looked outward, across the seas. But not everyone could be absorbed. Carthage, the great maritime power of North Africa, controlled trade, fleets, and fortune. The Punic Wars that followed were not just military struggles. They were existential. For over a century, Rome and Carthage fought for control of the Mediterranean. At times, Rome came close to destruction. Hannibal's elephants even marched across the Alps into Italy. But Rome refused to surrender. It rebuilt its fleets, trained new armies, and learned from its losses. When victory finally came, it was absolute. Carthage was wiped from the map. Salt was said to be scattered over its soil. The message was clear. You could join Rome peacefully, or be erased. From that point on, the Mediterranean became what Romans proudly called Mare Nostrum, our sea. Conquering land is one thing, holding it is another. Rome's second great secret was the infrastructure of control. All roads lead to Rome wasn't just a saying, it was strategy. They built over 250,000 miles of stone-paved roads linking distant provinces to the capital. Legions could march incredible distances at record speed. Messages could travel 50 miles a day, lightning fast for the ancient world. But the roads were only the start. Rome built aqueducts that carried clean water into cities miles away. They founded towns modeled after the capital, with forums, temples, and bathhouses. Trade flourished, and people moved safely under the same laws. They didn't just conquer people, they converted them to the Roman way of life. They sold the Roman dream. Inside the empire, life was safer, cleaner, and more prosperous than outside it. Why rebel when you had running water, paved streets, and thriving markets? But Rome's control went deeper than bricks and roads. They ruled through law. From Spain to Syria, the same legal code applied. If you lived under Rome, justice had a name, and it was the same everywhere. They also mastered propaganda. Arches, statues, and coins reminded citizens who brought them peace and prosperity. Every road, bridge, and aqueduct carried a message carved in stone. Rome built this. Rome protects you. This system reached its height under Emperor Trajan, a soldier emperor who expanded Rome's borders farther than ever, from Britain to Mesopotamia. In 117 AD, the empire stood at its peak. Roads, aqueducts, and trade routes bound together nearly 70 million people under Roman law and order. What followed was something the ancient world had never seen: peace. For nearly 2 centuries, Rome enjoyed what historians call the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Commerce thrived, culture flourished, and citizens could travel from one end of the empire to the other under the same flag. This era was guided by the 5 good emperors: Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Marcus Aurelius, leaders who ruled not through fear, but through balance. When conquest slowed, Rome began to build walls instead of bridges. Across the empire, fortifications marked its edges, the most famous being Hadrian's Wall in Britain, stretching 70 miles across the island. It wasn't just a barrier, it was a statement. Beyond this line lay chaos. Inside it, order. Rome had reached its natural limits and for a time was content to guard what it had built. Imagine standing in a province like Gaul or Egypt and realizing that the same coins, the same laws, the same Latin tongue connected you to millions of others. That was Rome's true magic, unity through structure. But hidden in that success were the seeds of decline. The empire grew so large, so complex, that maintaining it drained its strength. Borders stretched thin. Armies had to defend thousands of miles of frontiers. Taxes soared to fund endless wars. The same machine that built Rome's greatness began to strain under its own weight. Still, its formula for power was unforgettable. A professional army fighting for its future, a policy of absorption that turned enemies into citizens, and an infrastructure that stitched the ancient world together. They didn't just conquer the world, they sold it a better one. And in doing so, they built a legacy that still shapes how we think about power, unity, and civilization itself. So, what do you think was Rome's most powerful weapon? The unstoppable legion, or the policy of integration that made conquered people want to become Romans themselves? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.